Hello, and welcome to the EQUUS Film and Arts Fest podcast, the only program for horse lovers who have a fondness for horses in film, art, and literature. Each week, we will have interesting conversations with equestrian filmmakers, artists, and authors from around the world, discussing the nature and challenges, as well as the triumphs of creating their work. Ready to talk horses and film and the arts? Here's your host, Julianne Neal, along with Lisa Diersen, festival founder and director.
I'm Lisa Diersen, founder of the EQUUS Film and Arts Festival, and I'd like to welcome you to our new podcast. Your host, Julianne Neal, and I will be introducing you to all of our EQUUS Film Festival filmmakers, artists, and authors, as well as some of the music that's now part of the festival. We hope you enjoy it and look forward to bringing you something new and interesting every week. Julianne, take it away.
Welcome to the inaugural episode of the EQUUS Film and Arts Fest podcast.
Hi, Julianne. I feel like we should have some champagne to toast this.
I think that's a great idea.
Like New Year's Eve.
Exactly. I mean, we've been planning this for a while, and I'm really happy that the time's finally here, and it's perfect timing, a new venture and new year and everything else. So yes, champagne for all.
It's a great way to kick it off.
Definitely. We've got so much going on. This was a really special year for the festival and to be able to be in a new location and everything else. I know you're going to talk about that a little bit, but we have so many people that know the story of how the festival started. But for all of those people, there are probably hundreds more who don't know. So are you willing to talk a little bit about the beginning, the early days?
Sure. It just started with a little thought, a little idea, and a friend of mine, Rupert Isaacson, who had a little documentary called The Horse Boy. And I felt after seeing that documentary, which is about autism in children and horses and how horses heal, that everybody in the world should see that documentary. Mm-hmm. So I had Rupert coming into town to do a little event for me, a horse event.
And this was in Chicago, right?
This is outside of Chicago in a little town called St. Charles, Illinois, where I live. And so I asked a friend of mine who owns a theater if I could screen Rupert's film when he was in town. And Ron Onesti, who owns the theater, it's called the Arcada. It's a beautiful theater. You were there last year.
Yes, for Pony and his boy.
Yep, in St. Charles. It's just a gorgeous old theater.
Mm-hmm.
And Ron said, sure, I'll let you screen the film there. And I said, well, Ron, what if I got a few more films? And he said, okay, I'll get you a projectionist. And that's how the EQUUS Film Festival got started. We had 30 films the first year. All sorts of documentaries, from everything from Escaramuza, which is young girls, Hispanic girls riding their unbelievably beautiful horses, to Rupert's film, and we had a film about the farmer and his horse, and we had a really interesting Native American film called Silent Thunder, and we had the Black Rodeo, which was just an amazing documentary. So we had all different kinds of films. We had 7 clinics with Buck Brannerman, and it was just a really great kind of eclectic collection of films that came in the first year. So it seemed like it was an okay idea. People seemed to like it, and we seemed to have had a pretty good interest in the film, so much so that a group from the Netherlands reached out to me to see, if I would be interested in joining their platform and doing some stuff with them. And that didn't end up working out. But one of the questions they did ask me is if you were ever to take the festival anywhere in the United States that would get a lot of international attention and get international filmmakers to want to come, because a lot of our filmmakers are from out of the country.
Right.
Where would that be? And I said, well, it wouldn't be in Chicago. Chicago's great, but to get people from out of the country to want to come in, it needs to be in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though I didn't go ahead with them, I went ahead and moved the festival to New York for 2014 for the second year. And we were in New York for five years.
Now you started in Harlem that year, right?
We were in Harlem one year. We did the middle, kind of the Lower East Side. We did a little bit of the central area. We picked a few different places to be in every year, so we could kind of get, take it around New York and get a different feel for the different kind of boroughs, as they're called.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were doing World Equestrian Games last year in 2019 or 18, Laura Pruitt, who is the director of the Kentucky Horse Park, came up to me and asked me if I would be interested in having the film festival at the Kentucky Horse Park. And, of course, where is the, kind of epicenter of all things horses in the United States right now?
Absolutely. Horse capital of the world.
Right. I was a little concerned that I might, lose a little bit of the interest from our international filmmakers by moving to the horse park, because it just isn't New York City. But we had a 50% increase in filmmaker attendance this year and a 70% increase in artists and authors.
That's amazing.
Who joined us at the Kentucky Horse Park. So the venue is absolutely perfect for the festival. There's no better place to really host it than in kind of the horse capital of the world. And the Wrigley Media Group theaters were beautiful. We're partners with Wrigley Media Group, and they had just rehabbed, and we did a big ribbon cutting in June of last year. They rehabbed the theaters that are in the horse park, and they're just gorgeous theaters, nice sound, nice screens, nice projector, everything is.
It's top of the line for sure.
Right. And so we were able to, utilize both theaters, and we utilized the International Museum of the Horse, and had some of our panels and our artists and our authors staged in the museum. And that was just, so fun and such an interesting place to have the venue. With the art, especially for the artists and the authors, because the museum is just such a wonderful collection of everything, historically with the horse, that it just couldn't. Everything played out just beautifully there. So
it really did. Well, I know the first year that Bruce and I came, my partner Bruce Anderson and I came in 2015, and I think that was when you were down in the East Village, and the pop-up gallery was over at the Ukrainian Center, and I remember just thinking, what a wonderful group of people. And at that point, you did have authors and artists and filmmakers and all involved, and I know Diana DeRosa was doing the panels at that time. And so you've always had panels and things, but this year it just seemed to really blossom and take off. How did that happen?
We didn't bring the panels in until 2014 or 15. Actually, 2015 was the first year we brought panels in, and that we opened up to authors and artists. We had one author in 2014 with Never Say Nay, with a little horse.
That was a great idea.
Yeah, it was a really cute book, but the author portion really didn't kick off until that 2015 year. And I think we had 6 authors with us up in the Ukrainian village. We had the Smoke the Donkey, and we had Harvey Cade was there. It was a nice group of authors and artists. But this year, I think we had total 19 authors and probably 13 artists that were.
That's amazing.
And we did a private invite to the artists. We did a selected artist portion of the festival this year. And so they weren't really in competition, but the authors were in competition and were able to win Winnies for their work. We had artists, though, from around the world.
And beautiful work, beautiful
Oh, my
work.
gosh, yeah. Our main artist this year, our official artist for the festival, is Karen Silas. And her work, she came in from Portugal, is just breathtaking. So,
well, I'm pretty excited because that's one of the pieces that Bruce and I host the tour stop that comes along in April in Camden, and we're hoping to have that on a billboard. So I think it's going to be lovely.
I think she'll be pretty excited to see that too. So.
Oh, definitely. And like you said, I mean, the backdrop there at the International Museum of the Horse, there's already, beautiful stuff in there. But then you brought in exhibits that were related to the films and that sort of thing too, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. The museum invited Bernice Endy, who is the Lady Long Rider. She's the subject of a new documentary that'll be part of next year's film festival. We had a short trailer to it this year, but she's ridden 30,000 miles, I think, in the last 20 years. What an interesting human being she is. And they had a exhibit with her saddles and her hats and all different kinds of gear she uses when she's on the road with her two horses and dog. And then we had a beautiful display from the Gobi Gallop that Julie Vilu sent one of her saddles from Mongolia to be on display. So that was really pretty amazing.
Well, and some of those folks were also part of panel discussions this year. And you're right, Bernice was like a rock star. I mean, when she came in, everybody was like following her around. She's very interesting. So
yeah,
definitely.
Well, we're going to have her, we're doing the Art of the Cowgirl in January 24th through the 26th out in Phoenix, Arizona. And Bernice is going to be one of their guests at Art of the Cowgirl. And we're going to be showing a small collection of our cowgirl movies. And then next year we'll be doing a much bigger presence at the Art of the Cowgirl show. We'll actually be screening full documentaries, focus more on the women and horses. Hi, this is Lisa Diersen. Please be sure to tune in next week when Julianne and I have another interesting conversation with one of our EQUUS Film and Arts Fest filmmakers, artists, or authors.
So you do have documentaries, you have feature films, you have music videos. How did you decide which categories to list and what to do? How did all that come about from the beginning?
Well, it kind of self-evolved. I'm a firm believer in letting things kind of guide you. And the way we started to get films in, each one of them was so good in their own way. You really couldn't put an unbranded up against, a film about horses that are healing. So, it gave us an ability to, kind of have some different categories and be able to, kind of appreciate and honor everybody who is, who's involved in making films, and whether it's commercial or a music video, those have as much merit and take pretty darn much as much work as putting together, a feature film. They're, the commercials that we've had are just stunning that have been entered. So, and then we get quite a few films that don't make it to be screened at the, at our main event. So we kind of focus on screening the kind of the cream of the crop at the main festival.
Mm-hmm. And then those are the ones, the Winnie winners then go on tour
Right.
each year. And so
Right.
how do you decide which tour stops to include? I mean, we've been all over the world basically with you since 2015, but how, talk a little bit about the tour stops, because those are exciting in and of themselves, aren't they?
Well, I'm just getting ready to put together the list that'll go out in a press release tomorrow on the tour stops that we've got planned for this year. And we're going to be, again, at the Art of the Cowgirl out in Phoenix, Arizona. And then that'll be in January. And then we're going to be in Camden, South Carolina in April, 24th through the 26th.
Woohoo!
Then we go right the next weekend to Sedona, Arizona, that first weekend of May.
Uh-huh.
And then we go back down to Nashville, Tennessee to do the Rendezvous with Gary Holt, with his radio show, is having that great Rendezvous ride, which is going to be a blast. And we'll be showing some films, and he's going to have some of our musicians and a whole bunch of fun people there. So it's Rendezvous 2020, and that's June 18th through the 20th.
And that's in Tennessee?
That's in Tennessee.
Okay.
And then the next weekend after that, we go back down to Lexington for the Mustang Heritage Foundation's Mustang Makeover.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go back to the horse park for Briarfest in July. then we're heading out to Napa Valley to Tamber Bay Winery, which is also a horse rescue out there.
Now, when is that? I'm getting my flight together for that.
That's July 17th through the 19th.
That's wonderful.
And then we come back to the horse park in September to do Equitana.
Right.
And we're talking right now to the people at the new Fairhill 5-star event that's going to be happening in Maryland.
Mm.
So we'll be doing that in October, and then we'll be doing our film festival again at the beginning of November 12th through the 15th.
So the dates are confirmed.
Pretty much. So, well, for right now, they're confirmed.
Gotcha.
So.
Cool.
And then we're working on fitting a couple of dates in there, one to the UK, and then a few more people are talking to us. We've got a Canada trip that'll have to fit in there somewhere. So it's a lot of fun. I love taking the films around and letting people see them.
It is exciting. And one of the things that I think is pretty special is the relationships that are made between the filmmakers and the authors and the artists, and, different people who come in contact with each other because of the festival, then go on to do projects together. And, you mentioned the musicians coming in for the Tennessee event. I noticed that Melody de Benedictus and, different people that we've met at the other tour stops, then you see again. Nita Ryan. It's really exciting to see people. The herd continues to grow, doesn't it?
It does. And we have so many kind of like what I want to call repeat offenders. We have filmmakers who've been back year after year after year and constantly, and especially you, but we have a lot of filmmakers who just keep coming back and bringing in great content, and that, they love making new stuff every year. And
Right.
It's just, it never ceases to amaze me. And every time you think, wow, well, that's it. How can somebody else come up with something better with films, and something else comes in better the next year? So.
Oh, absolutely. And there are always stories to be told. And Bruce and I both feel so blessed and lucky that we met you and became involved in all of this in the first place. So it's been a wild ride for sure.
No, it's been a lot of fun.
Yes, definitely. Now, a lot of the films do seem to have a message. And have you have seemed to have taken on issues that are important in the horse world now, soaring for Tennessee Walker show horses, and the horse slaughter issue and all that. Have you always felt the drive to, I don't know if you'd call yourself an activist or what, but have you always felt like that was something important to you to share?
Well, I think it's important for all of us to do whatever we can do to stop what's happening to our horses, and be a voice for the horses. The horses are, to me, my family. I love the horses, and they're just, there's so many horrible things. I just posted up a posting today in Peru. They have a very big breeding farm down in a thoroughbred racehorse farm in Peru. And quite a few of their stallions are back and forth between Kentucky and Peru, improving their breeding stock. And I think it was one of Justified's siblings were slaughtered. A group came into the farm, pulled in, slaughtered these horses for meat.
Gosh.
They were there 11 hours. They locked up the staff that was there, and it's absolutely horrible. And so between that and nurse mare foals and PMU mares, and there's so many things out there that people need to be aware of that our horses, have to face there's struggles that they have to, that we have to help them with.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
when we first talked about the Spotlight Rescue series, you had all of these different things, going on, and you were able to just send me this idea and that idea. And that series was something that was kind of special to me because my students became involved in helping, instead of doing PSAs about drinking and driving or whatever, it was like you said at the time, let's put some stories out there and tell some of these things and try to do something that'll make a difference. And so, that I think was a great idea on your part. So,
well, and I think we have been able to help make a difference. I know that what's going on out in Arizona with the Havasupai horses, that, we've helped them bring a wider awareness.
Absolutely.
So much so that, different groups are talking about it, and that's our job. That's our job as caretakers of horses, is to make sure that we take care of them and don't let other people with other interests in mind that aren't out there for the, positive care of the horses, not have their messages, get their messages quashed. The walking horse thing is absolutely, we did a big soaring panel on that this year, and had a flat shod Tennessee walking horse come in, and we were able to do that presentation at the Kentucky Horse Park, kind of right deep in the heart of, Kentucky, where this kind of practice takes place. That was a huge deal.
Right.
To have that conversation, to open that conversation. But then on the other hand, with our panels, we were able to have a panel with Yoshin Schlieser, who does the saddle fitting. We had a bridle fitter, and now for next year, we're going to try to do both of them together with a farrier and a horse chiropractor, because these are the things that we as horse caregivers can have control to help our horses to feel better and to get, to correct things that could be wrong. So
So it's the entertainment side of things with the films, but it's also that educational side of things too. So that's pretty important. That's an important part of it. So, and speaking of entertainment, if somebody wants to see the films and can't come to the festival, you have a pretty special thing that they could do, don't you?
Well, we sure do. We now have the EQUUS Film Channel, which is very, very cool.
Yes.
You can subscribe for $7.99 a month, which is pretty good to be able to get to see all these wonderful films. And we've now have a partnership with Amazon too for the films that we don't have on our platform. You can click right from our page and go and get to see or purchase films. So
it's like the Netflix for the horse community.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yep. We're trying to make sure that anybody who wants to see the work that's been created by our authors and our artists and our filmmakers is accessible.
That's really exciting. Yeah. So, what is your favorite? I shouldn't even ask, but before you started all of this, did you have a favorite horse movie? Was there anything that stood out to you?
Oh, my very favorite was the Black Stallion.
Oh, yeah. I think I had heard you say that before, so that's why I asked that.
And Misty of Chincoteague. And I could watch Misty so many times. And we had that great Misty documentary 3 years ago, Wild Ponies of Chincoteague, or Wild Horses. And that story never gets old. If you're lucky enough to sit down and spend the time to watch that film again from beginning to end, you'll see where Grandpa Beebe knows natural horsemanship before it was ever in vogue. You know, the way he talks to the kids about how to work with the pony, and I love watching that movie over and over again. So.
Oh yeah, and there's a special place in my heart for the Black Stallion, the horse, the actor horse that's running down the beach, and the little boy's on his back is Cassoulet, and that's the great grandfather of our horse Marley, who's the Marley Project is our nonprofit. So yeah, I've always loved that one. So
and then we took the horse from the Mustang movie this year in our little Spotlight Rescue series.
Right.
We did a little piece on him because he's a pretty famous horse, and he was in a show called Maceo and belonged to a friend of mine, Alicio Zope, and you did a nice little piece on that horse. Oh,
thank you. That's another example, though, of it kind of coming around, because you had told me about that, but then in the meantime, I saw Daphne Yakin's film, The Great Flip-Off, and so saw Alicio as part of that and was just in awe of what he does, and then was able to meet him at the World Equestrian Games because he was there with her for the screening of their film at the EQUUS tour stop. So it's like everything just kind of comes around. So it's very cool.
Right. And we're having fun doing it.
Absolutely. Oh, Bruce and I are having a blast. So anytime you're organizing a tour stop, we're like, yeah, can we make it to that one? That would be fun. So
that's why I'm pulling the schedule together for this year. I'm like, oh my gosh, already it's
filling up.
Okay, we're kind of busy.
That's right. It's definitely filling up. And so how in the world do you have time to do anything with your own horse?
Well, I try to ride my own horse at least 6 days a week, 5 to 6 days a week. I have a Lusitano stallion, in case anyone doesn't know. His name's Urano. He's a big, gray, beastly, sexy-looking horse that I love to no end. And but we have a lot of fun, and I get out to the barn every day except for Mondays because our barn's closed, and then I can go over and see our other horses. So.
Right. So you do keep busy. I mean, every time I see something, in the middle of the night, you're 2 a.m., you're sending things out or doing whatever. So I don't know if you ever sleep.
I do. I've actually been working really good on my sleep lately because that's one of the things they say. You got to do your sleep well.
There you go. And then you also have another member of your little personal herd. And I heard her in the background just a minute ago, Amore. Oh.
Yes, Maury's here with her sister Lily. They're both sitting down here, and they're looking at the door that I've got closed off going upstairs because the cat sits on the other side of the door.
Oh wow!
And just watches the dogs, knowing that they can't bother him, but he can tease the heck out of them.
Oh well, they keep you sane, I'm sure. So.
Hi, I'm Lisa Diersen, director of the EQUUS Film and Arts Fest. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Well, what else would you like for people to know about the film festival?
Well, I'm happy that they're finally going to get a little taste of this podcast we've been talking about, because I think they're all going to have such an amazing time listening to all of our interesting and eclectic group of filmmakers and artists and authors that we have gathered throughout the years. And I mean, we're talking, we've had over 700 pieces of film entered into the festival since I started this. And
Wow.
so there's just such an amazing selection of people to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I are going to have a lot of fun.
We are.
This podcast together.
We definitely are. Well, and I was really lucky while we were there in Kentucky this past festival. I was able to sit down with a bunch of people, and we've got some interviews recorded already. We'll be doing some more, I'm sure. And I'm hoping that with each of these podcast episodes, you'll be able to give us updates on things that are happening or things that are coming up with the festival, or, sometimes even just things that we've seen in a film and we want to know what's going on. So it'll be a great way of keeping everybody posted, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure. We have, you can keep up with that on the website, Horse Network, who we're partners with as well. We're their channel. They've been doing some really nice interviews with our filmmakers. So anybody can check in the Horse Network and check out a couple of our, different filmmakers there as well. And there's just so much fun stuff going on.
Absolutely. It's a great time to be involved and to be putting things out there. It really is.
Well, people have a lot more opportunity now to actually get the content that they create the way they want it. They want to create it without people shutting them down and saying, you can't do this or you can't do that. Mm-hmm. People are able to really put their heart and soul into their work and have their work be recognized and seen and shared now, so more than any other time, I think, in film history.
Mm-hmm. Well, it struck me early on. I don't even remember which film it was, but early on when we were at a tour stop, I remember you telling me, "Oh, you have to see so and so because it was shot completely on an iPhone." And so I thought, somebody who can go to Mongolia and shoot an entire film on an iPhone, it's the content that matters. And, of course you want it to be, the cinematography needs to be great and all that too, but it can be done. So.
Right, exactly. And I believe that film was the one I was telling you about, was shot with 3 girls. Did it in Iran or Iraq. It was during the Taliban rule, and they did a documentary about what it was like to live there, and they did the whole thing on their iPhones, and they were able to get it smuggled out of the country, and it was just such a powerful documentary. But that's the power of film.
Exactly. Well, thank you for sharing it with all of us and for letting us share it with the rest of the world. I think it's pretty special.
Well, I think so too, but I love my filmmakers.
I think the feeling's mutual, believe me. This episode of the EQUUS Film and Arts Fest podcast is sponsored in part by Nature's View, the Marley Project, and JA Media Productions. To learn more about what we do, visit naturesview.com. Well, I guess we can tell some more of the fun and excitement next week, if that's okay with you.
That's fine. We'll talk to you later.
That sounds great. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Julianne. It's a lot of fun. Pony on.
Pony on. Tune in next week to hear more of Lisa's plans for 2020 and the film festival. You'll also hear more about the EQUUS herd, including Diana DeRosa, co-organizer of the main event. Diana is a veteran equestrian journalist who has traveled the world and recorded history for over 30 years. Besides being a writer and photographer, she owns her own PR firm called PressLink PR. You'll also hear how Bruce Anderson and I became involved in the festival back in 2015 and the film projects that we've presented each year. We've been thrilled to be a part of the festival ever since. For more information about the EQUUS Film and Arts Fest, visit our website, equusfilmfestival.net. To see more of the EQUUS movies, visit the EQUUS Film channel at filmfestivalflix.com.
On a lazy summer
If you like the music you heard today in our intro and our closing, it's from a really great CD called Pony by Jane Baldinger and her family. Check out their music through a link on the equusfilmfestival.net website. Pony is the name of the CD, and I hope you all will check it out.
Jenny, please.